going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Football Clowns podcast. I'm your host, Meej, and today we're going to be talking about my top 5 players to target. But before we begin, I'm going to quickly ask you to leave a like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it a lot. It helps me know that you're enjoying the content. Please comment, and as usual, I say we jump right into this. Now, I'm going to get it started with my favorite player to target, and that's going to be Arizona Cardinals running back James Conner. I've mentioned him in previous episodes last season. And I don't want to say limited action because he did play 15 games, but he was in a little bit of a timeshare with Chase Edmonds to start the season last year before Chase Edmonds got injured and James Conner took over the lead back role and absolutely exploded. He ended up finishing with 1,000 yards overall on 230 touches with 15 touchdowns in those 15 games. He only averaged about 3.7 yards per carry, which wasn't great at all, but I think that due to the volume and just the overall talent of the offense, I think that he's a chance to explode this season. And he has had good years in the past, good fantasy seasons and just overall in the league. And I think now that with Deandre Hopkins missing the first 6 games of the season, they're going to have to lean heavily on Kyler Murray's legs and James Conner just as a whole. And I think that his current ADP does not do him a justice for what he's capable of doing this season, and that is why I'm going to be targeting James Conner around those solid rounds of 3 and 4. I wouldn't mind reaching on him if you need to, because as I've said in the past, he is as good as an RB1 for your fantasy team as I don't want to say any other running backs, because there are plenty of amazing running backs that are going to go before him. But as any of those guys going behind him, he's probably better than all of them from a fantasy football standpoint, not a skill standpoint, but just an overall fantasy football standpoint. And I think that his overall usage could help you get a lot of wins in those first 6 weeks that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be missing, and he's going to be an A-plus player to target. The next player on this list is going to be Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Everyone knows and loves Lamar Jackson. Now, last year wasn't a great season for him. Obviously, he still performed among the top quarterbacks, but he definitely wasn't near the level he was in his first good fantasy season. Now, I think that he's going to be a fantastic player, near the top 3 quarterbacks for fantasy football this season. Obviously, because of that amazing rushing volume that he provides your squad with, just because he probably is going to have near 150 rushing attempts this season. Now, why do I think he's going to be so much better than he was last season? Well, number 1 is going to be Rashad Bateman. I think he's finally going to come into his own and be a big part of this Ravens offense from a wide receiver standpoint. And number 2 is going to be the return of J.K. Dobbins. Now, you might think that because a good running back is coming back, that it might impact Lamar Jackson negatively. It might take away from those rushing yards. I disagree completely. I think that J.K. Dobbins being back is going to allow Lamar Jackson to have a lot more running room so that the opposing defenses can't just key in on Lamar Jackson running or passing it, because J.K. Dobbins is one of those running backs that's well-rounded. He can catch the ball, he can run the ball, and J.K. Dobbins can do both of those things very well, and I think that's going to open up a lot of opportunities for Lamar Jackson to air out the ball, run when he wants to, and take advantage of those interesting goal line formations where he will QB option where he'll run it in himself or hand it off to the running back, which obviously I know you don't really want him to hand it off to the running back because he's your team's quarterback. You want him to either pass it or run it into the end zone. And I know you don't really want your quarterback to hand it off to the running back because you want the quarterback to score points, but it's going to allow for the Ravens to do whatever they want from a creative standpoint as well from an efficiency standpoint, in which Lamar Jackson will be able to score more touchdowns, both rushing and passing, over the long run. Moving on to our next player, it's going to be Detroit Lions running back DeAndre Swift. Now, DeAndre Swift is already a well-known running back who has proven that he is capable of performing well on the NFL field. Now, his problem has just been injury history. Now, I think that he's coming back from injury. He's supposedly 100% healthy, and you obviously have to take that with a grain of salt, but he's getting drafted in the 2nd to 3rd round, and I think that he's the potential to be a top 5 fantasy running back this season, and this is because of the overall volume he's going to receive, and especially the receiving volume he's going to receive. Now, reports out of the Lions news side of things is that he's expected to take on a massive receiving role for this upcoming season. Now, he's already had a pretty big receiving role with the offense. He had 450 yards on 62 receptions last season, mostly from checkdowns from Goff, but we're hearing that he's going to see even more of a receiving volume, and that really makes me excited because he is very, very good on the field, and if we're hearing that most of the offense is going to go through him, he has potential to explode this season. Now, I think that he has potential to score upwards of 15-plus touchdowns this season. And I know that's not really a huge prediction because he is going in the second round, but I think that he has potential to score 15-plus touchdowns with ease, and I think that he's probably going to break 1,500 total yards this season from, like I said, that overall just usage, and hopefully the Detroit Lions can click a little bit more than they did last season. It was mainly just DAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson, so I'm going to hope for the best here with Swift, and I think that he's going to deliver. I'm willing to invest highly on DAndre Swift, and I think that everyone else listening to this should do the same, as he has the potential to win you your fantasy league this season. And moving on to our next player is someone else I'm extremely hot on, and he's a big name, DeAndre Hopkins. Now, we've mentioned him previously in this episode, but not for a good reason, is because he's going to be missing the first 6 games of the season due to a suspension. So, you're probably thinking, why are you recommending me DeAndre Hopkins if he's going to miss the first 6 games of the season? Well, one, he's DeAndre Hopkins. Enough said. And number 2 is that after those 6 games are up, you have a clean-cut wide receiver 1 and a fantastic offense on your team for the rest of the season and, most importantly, the playoffs. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, I don't really need to go into a lot of detail. He is one of the best receivers in the league and has been for quite some time now. He's very good in the red zone, and he is capable of making those just ridiculous catches that make your jaw drop. So I'm very excited to see what he's going to do when he comes back from his suspension, and I want him on my fantasy team, and it's mainly because of the ADP that he's going at. If you can get a wide receiver 1 in round 7, despite him missing the first 6 games, those 6 games might not even matter. Okay, so let's say you go 2-4 in those first 6 games, and now you have DeAndre Hopkins as well as better wide receivers that you've drafted, and wide receivers and running backs that you've drafted that could potentially help you win those games, and now you have DeAndre Hopkins coming back for the rest of the season. That's a pretty strong team contender despite your 2-4 record, and I think that's the main reason why DeAndre Hopkins at this ADP is capable of bringing you an extremely strong fantasy team, and I think that he's going to deliver this season with such a strong offense in the Arizona Cardinals. And last but not least, we're going to be talking about Adam Thielen, who for some reason always finds himself in the end zone with the football in his hands. And that is the main reason we are going to be targeting him in the draft. And it is also because his current ADP is way too low for someone who just scored 10 touchdowns in 13 games on an extremely offensive-minded team with Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. Now, you may be thinking that because Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook are on these teams, that's probably going to hurt Adam Thielen's value, but I think that it's only going to make it easier for him to avoid that double coverage and get into the end zone, because you cannot double cover one of Adam Thielen or Justin Jefferson, because one of the other options on that extremely offensive-powered team is going to be open somewhere. And that is my main reason for targeting Adam Thielen. The guy always seems to find his way in the end zone. He's over 9 touchdowns in 3 of his last 4 seasons, and that was before he was even an extremely established wide receiver in this league. And that's just the stats speak for itself, and I think that's why you should be targeting Adam Thielen in all of your drafts. Now, thank you guys for tuning in. If you enjoyed the content, please leave a like. Please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel. It helps me know that you guys are enjoying these videos and that I'm helping you the best that I can. Comment some players that you guys are targeting, I want to hear what you guys are thinking. Maybe we can have similar feelings on some of these players, or we disagree completely. It's a fun conversation whenever we can talk, and I'm going to hope to catch you guys in the next one. And as always, take it easy.